Hello everyone and welcome back everyone to Ronnie's Hockey Show. So right now we are going to do if the playoffs started today. Like, I know that it's close to the playoff time, but I thought we would do it just right before the playoffs start. So, and an update on the playoffs. Once the playoff series are announced, I'm going to do a video for each playoff series. So there will be, I'm going to have to make 16 videos in the first round.
Ooh.
No, I actually have to make 8 videos in the first round, 4 for each thing. Now the wild cards, we don't know about yet. Like, I know the first wild cards have clinched the playoffs. I know that. But yeah, that's an update. So here are the playoff matchups, and I'll do my bracket if the playoffs started today as well. So if the playoffs started today, it would be Vegas versus LA, Sharks versus Ducks, Nashville versus St. Louis, and Winnipeg versus Minnesota. For in the East, Washington versus New Jersey, Pittsburgh versus Columbus, Tampa Bay versus Philadelphia, and Boston versus Toronto.
Hey, how many? Oh. Sorry.
And yeah, and I'm going to have to pause the video because we're driving through somewhere. Alright, so back to the playoff series. We have Pittsburgh and Columbus, like always, and Tampa Bay versus Philadelphia, and Boston versus Toronto. Now, for Vegas and LA, I would love to see Vegas go on. I would love to see LA go on, but I chose Vegas to move on. Sharks and the Ducks, I picked San Jose, so then it would be Vegas versus San Jose. Nashville versus St. Louis, I've picked Nashville to win it. And Winnipeg versus Minnesota, I've chose Winnipeg to go on. So the second round playoff series would be Vegas versus St. Louis and Nashville versus Winnipeg. In the East, Washington over New Jersey, and I have Columbus over Pittsburgh.
Not sure where you're going.
I've chose Tampa Bay over Philadelphia, and Boston versus Toronto. So the second round playoff series, Washington versus Washington versus Columbus, and Tampa Bay versus Boston. So here are all the second round playoff matchups. In the West, Vegas versus San Jose, Nashville versus Winnipeg, Washington versus Columbus, and Tampa Bay versus Boston. Shh. Alright, so in the West, Vegas versus San Jose, I've chosen Vegas to go on to the conference final. Nashville versus Winnipeg, I've chosen Nashville to move on. So we have Vegas versus Nashville. Washington and Columbus, I've chosen Washington to win. Tampa Bay versus Boston, I've chosen Boston to win. Now here are the conference final playoff series. Vegas versus Nashville and Washington versus Boston. So we're down to the final 4 now. Vegas versus Nashville. I would love to see Vegas go on to the Stanley Cup final, but I've chosen Nashville to go on. So,
Jake McMuffin, that's what you want, right?
Yep. Washington versus Boston. I've chosen Boston to move on, so it'd be Nashville versus Boston in the Stanley Cup final. I've chosen Nashville to win the Stanley Cup. So that was if the playoffs started today. If you liked that video, be sure to hit the like button, comment your playoff bracket. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't yet, and we'll see you all next time. Adios.